What's going on, guys? Minicall here coming at you with another video. This is a follow-up video to the one I did yesterday on the real-time arena, real-time PvP, and just some kind of, advanced strategies for someone with a lower TCP. As you can see here, I am currently on Minicall, sitting just shy of a 1 million TCP. Still pretty much a very smaller roster. I have essentially one or two teams that are kind of really built up, and the rest is kind of on the smaller side of things. Most of my teams, or most of my characters rather, are pretty much like a below 1000 even power. So this is just kind of, my strategy on how I have been able to complete pretty much all of my daily slash weekly objectives. As you'll see here, I am just one away from completing my Baron Zemo objective for the week, and my Baron Zemo is not very beefy, very much on the weaker side. And you can see here, I've done use Sinister Sticks, War Machine, Captain America, Mutant, Support, Villains, all those things. And for this character, I really don't have any. My War Machine is very weak, so is my Sinister Six. So is my Baron Zemo even. So this is kind of how I've gone about it, and this is certainly something that I think can work for most people. I'm going to unselect Baron Zemo real fast just to kind of, more or less prove a point. So he is, he's a little beefier than, say, a level 1 character, but he is really not that strong. So what I've been doing and what I'm finding really works really well, especially for situations where you have to use a weaker character to get, 50 of their abilities used. Mind you, this is a weekly challenge, so I mean, they are designed to take a little bit longer, but I've essentially done this in 2 days. So this is kind of what I've been doing. I am bringing in three of my beefiest characters. In this case, it does happen to be my symbiotes, and in a lot of these matches, it's actually coming down to my symbiotes just basically fighting by themselves and kind of me hoping that I can get like one or two attacks with Baron Zemo. So lucky for me, Baron Zemo is definitely one of the faster characters in the game, so that certainly does help. But in order to combat the fact that he is kind of a very strong character normally, a lot of my opponents are targeting him first. So in order to counteract that, I have brought in Minerva, and with Minerva and her res ability, she is able to revive Baron Zemo. So I'm going to go into a fight real fast, just kind of to more or less, I guess, maybe prove a point. So right here, this isn't going to be probably the best of examples as I am significantly more powerful than this person, but these strategies can apply. So basically what I'm trying to do in this fight is I'm trying to get Baron Zemo to attack as many times as possible. So, I'll go in and kind of, typical strategies. I kind of treat them very similar to blitz fights. And, there are obviously certain characters you want to target first versus others. In this situation, my Baron Zemo probably is going to live a little bit longer as this is not a very strong enemy. But, the basic things can still apply. I will actually, after the end of this fight, I'll go in and we'll just do another fight with, I'll pick any random character, just to kind of show that, stuff like this does kind of work. So that was a very easy fight, mainly because I, had over 100k on this opponent. But so let's go in and let's do kind of something a little bit different. I'm going to go in and I'm going to pick the babiest character on my roster. So we are looking at Karnak right here, a whopping 74 power. And the same thing is going to apply. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to basically get as many Karnak attacks as possible and, see what we can do. So in this case, I am significantly outpowered. This person has, close to almost 100k on me. And, I'll basically just kind of go through and the same stuff can kind of still apply. So really, I'm not expecting Karnak to do a whole lot, but I did get him to attack once. So in a situation where it's like, use an inhuman ability or use Karnak, I've already gotten one attack in. With him being so weak, there's also a possibility that my opponent might not target him, which is kind of cool. But if he does happen to die, I then can always just go in and res with Minerva, assuming they don't kill her, which it looks like they are trying to do. But so, it's mind you, it's probably not the fastest way to get maybe those 50 achievements in, especially when it's a particularly weaker character. It is possible though, and like I said, if you are only able to do one attack and that character does die, like we just had poor Karnak die. Had my Minerva lived, I would have been able to res him on his next turn. Now, obviously, doing those 50 attacks with, weaker characters certainly takes longer. However, if you are still not done with all of your weekly achievements, you are still getting credit towards that weekly knockout. And that's kind of, I guess, what I'm getting at is if you can bring in at least three really strong characters, and for a lot of us, I think our symbiotes have already been built up, as our strong raid team. You could certainly go in with Anti-Venom, Venom, and either Symbiote Spider-Man or Scream, and you should still actually be able to handle most players. And mind you, it comes down to a lot of, 3v5s, but they still can win a lot of the times. And it does look like I'm actually playing someone who is actually physically playing and they don't have it on auto. The reason I say that is just because they are actually specifically targeting anti-venom, and that doesn't seem to be what I would think the AI would be doing. So in this type of situation, I did lose the fight. I was able to get at least one knockout, but the strategy is kind of still the same, and it is going to be hit or miss. Obviously, sometimes you're going to get matched up with things that are great, other times not so great. In this case, not so great. But I did still be able to get that one attack. I got one knockout. So I would still be essentially working towards my weekly milestones with the battle pass or, with the achievement thing. Another thing you can kind of look at too is if you are in one of those situations where it's using two character types and, the weekly one, I think it's like use 30 of their abilities. So, hypothetically, we could say, trying to think of something that I have that's pretty weak. Let's say it's used like 30 shield abilities. You can just kind of go in and I'll bring in two of my squishy shield characters. So I'll do medic and shield operative. And again, they aren't going to do a whole lot of damage, and really just the hope is that they're able to do two attacks. And I mean, in this situation again, I am significantly stronger than the other person, but the strategy kind of still works. So when you're trying to do the team strategies or the team objectives where you have to do 30 of a certain trait's attacks, basically what you can do is you can bring in three of your strongest teams or three of your strongest characters rather, and then have the other two filler spots as that trait. And, typically they will at least get one attack per fight. So, again, mind you, it might take 15 fights to get the achievement done. But if you were doing those 15 fights and you are winning all 15 fights, that is you're getting five knockouts per fight. So you are still getting quite a bit of points towards your weekly knockouts. And, that certainly helps, especially if you are trying to get pretty deep into the daily objectives. So you'll see here, sadly, my shield medic and my shield operative did die. Shield medic was able to get one of her stats off, so that at least helped if I was hypothetically working towards some shield objectives. And then the rest of this, I'm just going to basically finish the fight, and then I would essentially kind of rinse and repeat, and I would just do the same thing over again. Now, once you get to the point where you've completed all of your daily objectives and you have completed rather all of your weekly objectives that require specific characters, when you get to the point where you're just working on doing the knockouts, you can kind of just go in with your, basically your strongest team and just kind of see how it goes and just keep going through it. I want to get one more fight in with my hypothetical shield operative objectives. All right, so this one is definitely a little fairer matched. It probably will be a tough fight for me just because they have five pretty well built characters versus my three. But the same basic kind of theory applies is I will try to get two attacks in from which they just got nuked by Baron Zemo. So in that case, with this one, this would be kind of 0 points towards that weekly shield objective if that was one of my cases. So that would be kind of annoying if that was the case. However, again, the same thing still does kind of apply. If I am able to knock out at least even just one character, I at least still get credit towards my weekly knockouts. And I mean, mind you, this is not a 100% for sure. It's always going to work. Just being realistic, sometimes it's not going to work. Try not to get too frustrated by it. A lot of it does have to do with who you are being matched against. And, so I mean, in this case, it's a pretty tough match where it is three symbiotes versus essentially four Asgardians and Zemo. So it is definitely a tougher fight for me. However, it's not impossible. I will pop up anti-venom a little bit. And, even though it probably looked like this should have been a clear win for the other opponent, you can see here I am quickly turning the tides. It is now a 3v3 again. And boom, we are now down to a 3v2 in my favor. So, mind you, I wouldn't have gotten any shield credit for this one if we were doing that hypothetical, use 30 shield ability objectives, but I am still getting, 5 knockouts, which goes towards that weekly event. Now, if this is something you're not wanting to like super focus on and you don't want to physically play the match, that's okay too. You could just as easily go in and auto the match. It might take a little bit longer, but I mean, again, the fights aren't more than 5 minutes, and even autoing, I think a lot of the times you can kind of get away with under 2 minutes. So, if you look here, there are going to be objectives that you might not be able to complete just because of the characters. Like, I do not have Beast. However, if you are just doing your daily objectives that kind of refresh. I think it's around 2 o'clock. If you're doing the dailies and just up to, I think it's the 225 knockouts. If you were doing the 225 knockouts a week plus your daily objectives, you actually still would be able to complete the full Battle Pass free tier rewards. So that is just, I guess, the quick little how I am managing in real-time arena. You'll see here mini call is already at 22, which is pretty much on par with where Dracarys and Khaleesi are. Once I finish this 550 knockouts, it'll certainly jump up again. Unfortunately, I do not have Beast unlocked yet, so I am still not able to do that component. But if I'm able to unlock him before the 5 days is up, I will certainly try to do that. But fear not if you don't have all the characters for the weekly objectives, it's not actually required. Like I said, all you really need to be doing is your dailies every day, which for me has only been taking about 30 minutes, as well as, at least the 225 knockouts. And you should actually be able to complete the full tier and get yourself to 100. So that's it for this kind of advanced guide on real-time arena. Any additional questions, feel free to reach out to me on Discord at Khaleesi, in-game mini call Dracarys or Khaleesi. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns that wasn't answered in this video, feel free to reach out to your alliance leadership. As always, thank you so much for watching, and if you did find this video helpful, please like and subscribe. Hope everyone's having a good week, and catch you on the next video.